Thank y'all for tuning in to the first episode of Welcome Home Dad. I'm your host Terrence, and if you did get a chance to tune in on the last episode, go ahead and click that following video just so we can give you an introductory on what Welcome Home Dad is. Today I have a very special guest with me. I'm excited to have him here. I've known him actually for a few years. We actually met back in the gym. So this is going to be a shout out to Zone Health and Fitness, where I actually started in the sales field and met this gentleman here. But first off, I want to play a game. It's called Break the Ice. We're going to ask my man here 5 simple questions, and then all this is going to be is a simple yes, no. You don't have to give any explanation as to why you chose these choices. All right, first one, flats or drums?
Flats.
All right, then we're going to have pineapple on pizza.
Yes, every day.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike for sure.
All right, Florida or Florida State?
Florida.
And then last but not least, we're going to go ahead and say the 40-yard dash or the 100-yard.
Definitely the 40.
And why is that?
Less running.
All right, true that. And basically here I have my man Chris Mendoza. He's going to go ahead and give you a little rundown about himself and what he does here. Like I said, we're out of Ocala, Florida, and Chris is a pretty well-known name here in Florida. We're going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. Chris, go ahead and tell the people about yourself, my man.
Yeah, so I'm Chris. For most of my adult life, I've worked in sales in different avenues. I've been a personal trainer for the last decade. I sell houses. I do life insurance. I'm a life coach that specializes in relationships and dating, and just try to be the best version of myself that I can, and as much of a TV personality, and just try to kind of get the name out there, spread the love.
Definitely. Now, I know I wanted to touch on that because that's actually something that I didn't know, is that you're a life coach.
Yeah.
And this kind of jumps the gun on some of my questions here. Now, when you say you're a life coach, when it comes to certain aspects of relationships, now are you seeing a lot of guys coming in just saying that they're wanting to fix a relationship, or is it any improvement on wanting to fix themselves?
Both. And I mean, that's the secret sauce to it, is fixing yourself. But in a nutshell, the biggest reason that relationship issues exist is because of our social programming and the inversion of masculine and feminine energy that's been taught to us throughout the years. And it started early on, back in the 1900s when fathers were no longer in the homes because they were out fighting wars, and I mean, it is just a byproduct of, but the thing is, you can become aware of it and you can fix it, and dating becomes effortless.
Yes, sir. No, I agree with that. My father was in the military, so I kind of get that aspect. I was at home, my grandmother alive, and then when my dad came home, it was only for a short time, and then, like I said, he was back out on the road, or we were traveling a lot. Now, for you, did you have your dad growing up in your life, or how was that?
Yeah, he was around. He was at home for most of my childhood. He worked from home we always had a garage or a detached shop, something like that. So he was always there, but he worked his butt off. He was a small business owner and worked 7 days a week sometimes, and it was it was still rough. He was there, but he was there as much as he could be.
Got you. Now, would you say the same lifestyle that your dad kind of portrayed, does that kind of add up to how you're handling your...
Yeah, I talk about this all the time. I've followed in his footsteps in a lot of ways, and the good ways, and unfortunately sometimes the unfavorable ways kind of follow with it as well. So I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning, especially at 33, is how to be more balanced with my work and family life.
Gotcha.
Especially in the line of work that I do. Because if you're, the minute that you let go, so that way you can focus on family, everything kind of crumbles. So you kind of have to have one hand here and one hand there, and you're never fully present in either. So I'm trying to learn how to do that.
Yeah, same here, man. Like I said, I'm working 40 hours plus here and there, but I'm also trying to start cutting back and learning how to balance myself. Because like you said, family is very important. A lot of people, I feel like, we get so caught up into the outside life of wanting to do everything, and we tend to forget about, the people that are looking up to us as they're getting bigger. Now, for you, Did you have any role models, whether it's your dad or anybody that you grew up with, you had any role models that you looked up to and, kind of just had them bring you in underneath their wing?
Yeah, I had, friends' parents. Of course, my own parents, but then I had friends' parents, and I think that's one of the coolest things is that I've ran with so many different groups throughout my life. Diversity it's been crazy, but I've got to see how different families function over several years. But between whether I was like friends with them or whether I was in a relationship with someone and got to know their family, but I think I've taken a little piece from each of those situations, and those have become my role models. It's like a mosaic of my favorite parts of my favorite
Gotcha. I feel like we got an unwelcome guest here. I'm trying to make sure we don't get popped by this wasp here, y'all. Now, I know you said that you took bits and pieces from whether it was a relationship or a buddy that you grew up with. Now, me personally, we all go through that juvenile stage where it's like, whether it's rebellious or we just want to kind of see what we can do on our own. Would you say there was a time in your life that you struggled with something and it kind of just took you a little minute to get over that hump and, kind of grow into your own?
Yeah, I think insecurity as a kid. I think insecurity as a kid was a big thing that I struggled with. I never felt like I was enough, and that transmitted into my early 20s. And it also my mental health, just in general. Because I'm pretty open about it, but I do have ADHD. Some people don't believe in it, but I wish it wasn't a thing. I've tried several times to pull myself off of medications, and it's like, yeah, you feel fine, but then you start to kind of look at the content of your life as a whole, and it's like, okay, everything starts to become this disarray and chaos, and you can't think straight enough to fix it, straighten it out, and it transmits into everything. So I think one of the biggest things is just coming to terms with who I am and my own struggles that I naturally have, and then just kind of learning how to overcome them, whether it be through therapy or medication, eating healthy, taking better care of myself, and I think that's been the biggest hump, is just learning how to maintain me.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, as men, I know we got ladies out there watching too as well, but even as men, that mental is really important, as you were stating. Now, for you, I know you said whether it was studying or just kind of going through your own medicines or whatever the case may be. Now, would you say you still continue to struggle with that, or are you kind of seeing any improvements on the certain things that you've implemented in your life?
Sure. He was just on me. It was intense.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's a never-ending battle. When your brain chemistry is constantly doing this, you have to constantly do this. And so sometimes I have really good days and really bad days. And, to not feel like a feather in the wind, I just have to really check all my boxes. Like, am I eating healthy? Did I drink enough water? Did I get enough sleep last night? Did I exercise enough? Am I on my medication regimen? Because if I have all my boxes checked, I have all my cylinders firing.
Gotcha.
And so that's like the big thing to keep it, just keeping that in balance, and it's a conscious effort constantly, so it is exhausting because it's not, some people can do whatever and their brain just works.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's always been frustrating, and it's kind of, it's kind of bothered me throughout the years, and I'm learning how to not let it bother me, but I'm like, man, some people just effortlessly get through this world mentally, and it seems like they just fly through the finish line.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm like, man, I'm stuck in first gear some days at best,
Same.
So I think that's a big thing, is just as long as all my cylinders are firing, because I have my hand on the pulse, I'm good.
And what would you say is your ideal good day, and what would you say is a worst case scenario, like a bad day for you?
Yeah, so habits wise or just mental wise?
I'm gonna say you can kind of touch on both. Kind of like just say habits. What would be something that you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna wake up, boom, 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 this, and then if you roll out the bed, you're like, oh man, I'm not feeling this today. What would kind of be?
One thing I absolutely have to do is I have to plug all my appointments into my calendar. I've lived by a calendar for more than 10 years now. I have no idea what's going on whenever I first wake up, and that calendar, because I set it the night before, I'm like, okay, all right, I start at 10 o'clock today.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is I'll do a little bit of stretching, get to the gym. I get to the gym because if I can get to the gym and I can get my body warm, I know that it's going to be a better day for me, and adequate hydration. And then once I've gotten everything that I need out on the gym floor, now my brain's ready to go. I'm ready to go to work. You know, and I try to do the hard things first, the stuff you really don't want to do, because it's usually the stuff that you should be doing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And no, that's good stuff. Because like I said, for myself personally, I wake up, start my morning about 4:30, about 5 o'clock. I have to get my water in. I go check my book, look at my calendar, make sure I don't have anything for that day. And if I do, whether I'm at work, I'll make my calls while I'm on my lunch break. And like you said, you want to do your habits first, implement the important things, because if you don't, then they're never going to get done, or you might push them off to the side.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is when it comes to relationship. I know we had talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Single, married, divorced, what's your status?
I'm in a relationship right now. We're not married, not yet.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's I'm in a relationship with my daughter's mother, and it's amazing.
And now that's a blessing. And how long have you guys been together?
So we did have a time where we were apart, but all in all, October will be about 5 years.
Okay, nice. And what would you say, I know we had touched on the mental, now with your girl, what would you say kind of helps with you guys in a balance when it comes to y'all's relationship? Like what things do y'all do to help make sure you guys are on the same page?
Communication, honest, open communication. And I've been accused of being rude,
Gotcha.
Just because I'm direct,
Yeah.
you know. And it's I think when you can learn to take things at face value instead of, oh man, I don't like how you said that,
Yeah.
you know, because then you blow it out of proportion and the message never got across because now you're out in left field. I just think honest, open communication is one of the biggest things, and knowing yourself enough to know what you need, and also not placing expectations on the other person. Like, yes, they should be there to meet your needs, but you have to understand sometimes they're just not where they need to be to do that for you, because they're, you know, in a way they might not be getting what they need.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of taking it personal and be like, you're not doing this for me, it's like, okay, well, what might they be deficient on because they're struggling right now?
Oh yeah.
You know, so I think just not assuming the worst of your significant other whenever they don't check a certain box.
Yep, same. And I've noticed myself, and that's something that I've struggled with too, and still learning. I'm not in a relationship, but I'm learning to stop placing my expectations on people, because like you said, when you place your expectations on someone and they don't meet those expectations, now it's a whole nother World War III because of miscommunication. But like you said, as long as you have that open line of communication, and I feel like once you guys implement the open communication, that actually just allows everyone to not have to worry about saying things without starting an argument, because you guys know, hey, you have that open line of communication. We're honest, we're upfront.
It's your safe space.
Yeah, safe space. Yeah, you know, like you said, you don't want to be out here battling the world, and you got to go back home
and fight that battle.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely. And just to touch more base on positive outlooks. What are some things that you are doing in the community, or even if it's not in the community, what are some things that you are doing to touch other people's lives around you? You know,
I think one of the biggest things that I've been able to touch people's lives with has been through my PT background. I worked in a hospital and in a physical therapy clinic when I was 21, and I learned so much from it, and it transitioned into the personal training world. And for the last 10 years, I've spent, you know, several hours a week training seniors to maintain their balance at home, learn how to get up and down off the floor, keep their ability to be able to just take care of themselves, you know, because you never know. One slip and fall could be life-changing for someone. And so that's been a big thing for me is just been giving people the ability to take care of themselves. And that's that's been a big thing. And then of course the coaching for relationships. We haven't always been given the best role models for how to be in a relationship. A lot of us came from broken homes. At one point my parents split up for a couple years, and that was rough. I know what it's like to have struggles in those areas, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I've taken my own struggles and the lessons that I've learned from them, and I try to teach people how to get through that without them having hit that rock bottom.
Yes. Now, like you said, we've all gone through some different childhood traumas and certain things that we've had to grow with. Would you say that by your mom and dad splitting, did that affect you in a big way, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it stirred up. It stirs up more in a kid than you could ever imagine. If you've never been in a separated home, it just weird things started to manifest for me. I became afraid of the dark again, and all that. I was I think it was 10 when they split, and then I was 12 when they got back together. But yeah, I became afraid of the dark again. Became very resentful towards myself and my mom. I blamed both of us for him leaving.
Gotcha.
And it was it was a really weird time. But it's crazy because neurons that fire together wire together.
So he knows all the science.
Yeah, and it starts to become your truth.
Yeah.
And it affects kids. So I mean, it took therapy. It took a lot of untangling the Christmas lights, so to speak, to straighten all that out. But yeah, it affects people so negatively when there's a division of any kind. Loss of a friendship, loss of it's the death of a relationship.
Amen to that. Yes, I definitely feel that. Like I said, I grew up in a single father home, I guess you could say, military lifestyle. My dad, he was married for a little while, but he got injured, so we ended up moving here to Ocala with my grandmother at the time. Now, when it comes to therapy, would you say that the therapy did help? Because I know when you go into a therapy, you kind of I don't want to give this person my business. Would you say that the therapy sessions helped you out into opening up and learning how to express your feelings to where you can talk about it with that person?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a tool. There's lots of tools out there that are created to help us.
Yeah.
The therapist that you're with can make or break. If you're going to do therapy again, and I think what I appreciated about mine was actually local. Her name is Erica Zeno. She owns First Strides, and she listened to me. She allowed me to open up, and I think just having the female, she was very maternal and nurturing about it. It's I would just open the floodgates, and I remember on our first phone call, I started just telling her everything, and she's like, hold on, we're not even in the first session yet. And just being able to get all that out made the biggest difference in the world. Because the alternative is you go home and you tell your spouse all this stuff, and now you're polluting your relationship with all this toxic stuff that you've been holding in. And some people do that thinking, oh, I got to let them know everything about me.
Yeah.
But you just turned your garden into a dump site.
Gotcha. And
it might be okay once or twice.
Yeah.
But next thing you know, they're going to start to associate you with those negative feelings that you're pouring out, therapy is everything.
Therapy, yes, definitely. Now, I want to kind of catch on something that you said where you tell your spouse some things, and it's you don't want to turn that garden into a waste post. So how do you feel about men that express themselves to their partner? Does that make you think that they're weak because they're expressing themselves to their partner, or how do you feel about that situation?
So the perception, and this is a really good one, and it's super controversial, but at the end of the day, if we're still cavemen, our job is to protect and provide for our women, and we're supposed to be the rock, because women are naturally more emotional, they're naturally more sensitive to changes and tone, body language, and it's our nature. That's how we're supposed to be. When you turn your woman into your therapist, now she's the rock. And you have inverted the polarity of the relationship, and you will see more times than not she will lose respect for her man. And people get offended by it, because they say everything is about equality, but you're literally taking something that's supposed to be your job and you're making it her job now. So as a man, you're supposed to be able to get things out, but the first thing is it's supposed to be between you and God,
Yes.
between you and your buddies, and between you and your therapist, so that way whenever you come home to your woman, you're showing up as the best version of yourself.
Yes.
Because, like I said, you can get away with it a time or two, but when you turn your woman into your therapist, it's just naturally, as a survival instinct, they start to pull away.
Gotcha.
And they don't even know that they're doing it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You guys heard that. Like Chris said, the first person you want to reach out to is God. Obviously, then you got your buddies, or you can do the switcheroo. You got your therapist, then your buddies. And then, obviously, every now and then, touch base with your spouse, and let them know some things that are going on. I've even found myself where there's certain things that you don't want to tell your buddies, because at the end of the day, you don't also want to look weak at them, because there's some situations at home that could be going on, and you're kind of a little suspect about, like, I don't know if I should tell him that, because now it might not look like I'm taking care of business at home.
Absolutely.
Now, is there certain things that you kind of keep to yourself that you don't tell any of your buddies?
Absolutely. There's things I've never spoken to another human, and it's maybe one day I will.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately it's between me and God. Just stuff from the past when I was a kid that I can't change, and it's it is what it is. But I mean, sitting there and dumping that on someone who's it's none of their business. Like it's not going to help anything. And especially when these things that I speak of, they don't really affect me today.
Gotcha.
Cross my mind, but I pray on it. And if it becomes important enough, I'll bring it up and to a therapist.
Yes, sir.
And it's because ultimately they're trained to take that in, help you process it, and let it go.
Gotcha. I would say my last and final question for you. We touched base on our mental health. We touched base on how we are involving ourselves with our relationship and with our spouse, our buddies, and bettering ourselves. Now, my final question to you is, what are some things that you want men to start speaking out more on, and not being afraid to kind of voice their truth or voice what they're kind of afraid to say? What are some things that you would want more men to speak on?
Don't be afraid to be a man. I feel like, especially in this society, men are under attack.
Yeah.
And it's there's a certain, we are each born with a certain role in this world, and for one reason or another, people have tried to change that role. And when you change it, over time, you're going to see different effects on society, and you're seeing that today.
Yeah.
It's like it or not. There's an order in which things are created to happen, and when you start messing with it, there's going to be side effects, and they're really unfavorable, and ultimately it leads to division with you and yourself and you and others. And so just, if you're a man, just don't be afraid to be a man. Don't be afraid to speak what's on your mind. Be direct. Be focused on your purpose and mission in life. Protect and love your family. And man, that's the best advice I could give to guys.
Yes, sir, definitely. And like I said, I appreciate your time, Chris. And I'd love to chit chat some more with you.
Yeah.
And obviously, for those who have any social media, Chris, what's some other your socials that you have where these people can reach out or follow you?
So I'm on Instagram. We'll throw my tag in there. I don't do much of Facebook, but I do a lot of YouTube. The Ocala Realtor for my real estate channel. I was just telling him I got another project I'm starting. You guys are gonna see it. It's gonna be one of the biggest things to hit YouTube, and it's gonna be a full circle kind of program. It's gonna be really sick.
Love it, definitely. And for those of you guys, like I said, if you are interested in joining the show, please reach out to me at welcomehomedad1989@gmail. That's welcomehomedad1989@gmail. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Welcome Home Dad. I'm your host, Terrence. This is Chris.